What's the nastiest thing you've ever done? I wasn't feeling well, so I took a nap. I woke up feeling even worse, so I tried going downstairs to tell my wife. I was in my boxers and t-shirt. At the top of the stairs I puked so hard I fainted, then had explosive diarrhea. I woke up halfway down the carpeted stairs, slowly sliding down it on a water slide of my own shit and vomit. When I was a kid, I went out with my friend and his father's family. We ate Chinese, and after my stomach was hurting, I was the first one outside, so I tried to fart and sharted instead. I was about to run to the back of the building to wipe and throw boxes away. It was nighttime, but they came outside already. I didn't know what to do, so I got back in the truck. It just happened to be the kind where you open the front to get back door open. I rode all the way home, 30 minutes, with shitty pants. They didn't say anything but drove with all windows down to make it worse. When I got home I had to climb over someone to get out because I was in the middle seat, so my ass went right by the daughter's face. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. One day at work I started farting big time and that made me nervous. Then it suddenly just stopped, but the smell followed me around. So I'm cruising around in my wheelchair, and I happen to take a peek behind me, down the back of my pants. Shit everywhere. Shit climbing up my back, because my pants are full and the motion of wheeling around was pushing it up my shirt. The backrest has feces all over it, and I swear to God it was making this squishy sound as I made my way to see my boss. I just told him I was sick and had to leave immediately because by now it's really obvious and I want to get the fuck out of there pronto. I put towels all over my van seat, but it was not a pleasant ride home. When my sister and I were really young, probably around 5, we would use those little Dixie cups to drink out of the toilet. When I was a kid learning to ski I begged my parents to let me go pee before a run, but we were already in line for the chairlift. My oldest sister told me, if you have to pee really bad, that means it's only a little bit, so just pee. I trusted her blindly but probably pissed myself for a solid 2 minutes, filled up, and flooded my ski boots. My parents were not happy, because it was definitely old enough to know better. Not really my fault, but in 2nd grade I got a stomach bug, and my parents didn't want to answer the phone, so the stupid nurse sent me back to class. We were at P.E at the time, and I got horribly sick again. Just as I finished throwing up, a kid had kicked a kickball. The sound it made as it slid through my vom is still with me to this day. I pissed my pants behind the water fountain at school in like 4th grade because I was afraid of the mean girls in the bathroom. I accidentally shit my pants outside at some after school program at my school. I decided instead of going inside it'd be better to hide in the tube slide, take the shit out of my pants and bury it in the sandbox. Pushing my abdomen back together because the sutures came undone and I could see my insides. When I was in high school, I was so constipated, a poop as wide as an egg's length was stuck inside of me. I strained and pushed to no avail, and eventually had to stick a looped up finger inside, trying desperately to work my way around this monster and crack a chunk off. No dice, I ended up laying in the bathtub with my legs up in the air, butthole pointed straight at the hot water blasting from the tub faucet. Praying that it would be dislodged. Eventually enough chunks came off that I was able to poop it out, and it felt like dry, cracked birth. When I was about 4 years old, I was at a video rental store and shook out a little nugget of a turd that fell down my pant leg and was left by the video games. Pissed myself while I was really drunk and couldn't admit it, so poured it my alcohol on myself to make it seem like I'd somehow gotten a bunch of liquid spilled on me. Since I was in a club, that plan wasn't working. As you can imagine, you can't just acquire that much alcohol for free and quickly, so I ended up trying to get into a sink in the bathroom and ended up getting taken away in an ambulance due to slipping. That sounds a lot less funny when I say it like that actually. Doctor here. At one point in my career I was doing autopsies. Came in one day to the smell of BBQ. I thought perhaps potluck or someone was cooking in the kitchen at work. Turned out there was a house fire and that was the smell of the victim. I performed the autopsy, and despite my disgust, my mouth watered the entire time. Doing that type of work you learn to compartmentalize and leave your feelings at home. But he smelled so good I couldn't eat meat for months, and every so often I smell burnt meat and it takes me right back to it. I was 19 years old and addicted to prescription painkillers. I like to get really high and then eat copious amounts of ice cream, which would typically lead to vomiting the next morning. One morning I popped some pills before puking and was at the toilet less than 5 minutes later. In the midst of my puking, I saw the pills erupt from my mouth and into the toilet. I wasn't planning on missing that high, so I dug into the vomit to the bottom of the toilet and I found them and went on with my day. Over 4.5 years clean now and don't plan on touching vomit for leisure again anytime soon. Had to pick through my shit with gloves trying to find a push pin I'd swallowed some days prior. Threw up in my pants in the bathroom of the bar and continued drinking. Undressing and showering my father because he had gotten blackout drunk and shit himself. I ate too much food before going to school when I was a kid, 2nd grade, without knowing it's spoiled already. My stomach started to feel upset, but I trusted my guts. Then I *T myself in the middle of the class. It was so embarrassing. I was sitting, and the smell started roaming around the room. My ex had a golf ball sized cyst on her shoulder. I tried to extract it, and it squirted forcefully, a little right into my mouth. I immediately threw up on her leg, and cat who chose the absolute worst time to affectionately cuddle her leg. In 5th grade I used to shit tiny little turds in my pants, discreetly take out the turd and encapsulate it in my hand, get up to blow my nose, then I would put the turd in the tissue and throw it away in the trash can. Teacher then wonders why the classroom stinks and can't find the source. Why did I do this, LMAO? One morning I was getting ready for work, still naked from just waking up and not feeling too good either. I made the mistake of trusting a fart and small bit of liquid hit the floor. I tried to run to the counter to grab paper towels, but before I could react my dog was already lapping it up. I chugged a bottle of maple syrup like in Super Troopers. Drinking syrup is kind of gross. The nastiest parts were the stomach pains and aggressive farts that happened hours later due to the amount of sugar. My buddy was near the bathroom when I was letting them out, and he said it sounded like Little Round Top. After getting blackout drunk, I was taken to a friend's mattress to lie down, and I pissed and shat on it while taking a nap. Jerked off in a porta shitter in Iraq during the summer around 3 PM. Damn, I sweated my ass off. I was once sick and had really bad phlegm and kept needing to spit it out for days. I got tired of having to get up, so I put a big Halloween candy-sized bowl next to my bed that I could spit into. One morning I forgot it was there and stepped into it barefooted. A McDonald's Filet-O-Fish with 15 extra tartar sauce. Fell into a sewage ravine when I accidentally slipped over the barricade. My mouth was open cause I screamed on my way in. This was during a road trip and had no ability to shower, change or get help. Stuke up the car, got dirty looks at gas stations. Not recommended. After a cabin trip with friends, some of us got food poisoning. Some of us had it coming out both ends and some only one. I was one of lucky ones that experienced both. That night after finally falling asleep I woke up at 3 AM to find I had shit myself in my sleep. The next day one of my friend texts me to tell me he had a rough night because he also shit himself in his sleep. It's one of our favorite stories that I don't think many friends get to share with each other. Camping. We had a small portable toilet, cartridge style. I wasn't using the portable bathroom, but the wife and child were. About halfway through the second day I was helping my son, who was a toddler at the time, get himself situated on the toilet. If you don't know how a cartridge porta potty works, it has a plunger that opens up the waste cartridge to accept new waste and close its sealing in fumes and any chance of spillage. What I didn't factor in when pulling the lever to open up the cartridge so he can go was it was very pressurized from the change in temp from 40 to 80 degrees, Arizona. What happened was the cartridge propelled piss and shit up in my face, mouth open. This was 7 years ago. I'm gagging still thinking about it. I gargled Listerine and wiped my face with bleach wipes then dish soap. I still don't feel clean. I was asleep on the couch in some ghetto house I was renting while in college and a cockroach crawled inside my ear canal and got stuck inside. I woke up and felt it crawling around inside. Went to the emergency room and the doctor extracted. Felt so violated. Got ear fucked by a roach. Stepped on a cockroach barefoot. I was in my teens, way more drunk than I should have been off hard liquor and wound up in the drunk tank. I was dehydrated as FCK and convinced I was natty because of it. I was yelling, begging for water, but I must have been lippy earlier because no help came. I ended up drinking out of the toilet. Never told anyone this until now. Had to shove my hand down a deep sink to remove fish carcasses. Granted this was for work, but my 19-year-old self will never forget the smell and feel of the experience. Yes, I wore long sleeved gloves. When I was a kid I used to shit my pants while I slept. Put the nuggets under my bed for weeks, and when my parents found them, I told them the hamster escaped and pooped under the bed. Diarrhea struck as I was trying to find parking in one of those parking structures. Could not hold it in. Saw one of those giant garbage bins and did the dirty. Sacrificed a pair of undies as a wipe and went commando the rest of the day. I put my dick in a sock full of warmed beef. Had a double shot of some Carolina Reaper sauce. Had some milk to make the heat less bad. The milk in my stomach curdled and I ended up throwing up all my stomach lining and needed to go to the hospital for a couple days after that. I'm a pump tech. So I've had to wade through sewage, get up to my armpit in sewer to disconnect pumps, shovel debris in a sewage treatment plant. I think the nastiest one was opening up a sewer pit at a public park where homeless heroin addicts hang out/live. There was a problem with the pumps, and I open up the pit, and it looks like the scene in Saw 2 when the girl gets thrown into the pit with all the syringes. There was that many. I told the manager there was nothing I could do because it was too dangerous. We ended up getting a specialist in to pick out all the needles so we could safely fix the system. There's nasty as in people replying they sucked off 3 dicks at the same time like a cartoon character smoking a whole pack of cigarettes at once, and then there is nasty like some people saying they shit their pants so much it filled their shoes. One I can think of that fits both categories is how I was having sex with a girl I met off Twitter who started shitting herself during an orgasm. I didn't know what was happening until I heard "I'm so sorry" and then smelled it. One of the few times in my life I had no idea what to do next. It was Christmas Eve and I think I was 4. Puked in my hands so I wouldn't get out of bed. BC my parents told me Santa wouldn't come if I get out of bed. Obs they didn't count on me getting sick. I know that is a pretty tame story compared to the rest in this thread, but I still remember holding that puke in my cupped hands for what seemed like a really long time. I took a drink of my friend's Red Bull. Turns out it was his dip spitkin for the day. Stepped on a huge slug barefoot. Squished between my toes. It was traumatic. Patient hadn't pooped in a week and has resisted all meds to get her bowels moving. Had my entire hand up her elderly patients, but trying to dig out poop. Doctor snickered as he ordered digital reduction